Team pick.
Grimstroke.
Okay, so there's still. I think it's fine. Again, right? Just something else that's going to enable you to get onto the correct target, which is the coddle. We still don't know if this is a mid coddle, by the way. They could just revert it back to being a Kishka coddle. So we'll see with this next
10
pick if
seconds
that's
remaining.
revealed. I would say they're just going to go ahead and pick their offlaner here.
Do they brood still?
As to what
5 seconds
offlaner.
remaining.
Huh?
Do they brood still?
Team
Like, does
back.
those two heroes prevent
Legion
it?
Commander.
Never mind.
I would. I don't know, actually. I feel like the Legion Commander is fine. They're just really wanting something to be able to protect this coddle in the later stages of the game,
10
right?
seconds remaining.
Leaving it the option to be mid while also being good
Radiant
in lane
team
against the
back.
CK, right? Melee versus melee, assuming this is a position 1 CK. Could still be off lane. Never know. But I understand the justification for the LC pick for sure. And of course, so much burst damage to be able to consistently win a lot of these duels.
10 seconds remaining.
Press the attack's going to be nice as well as an aggressive tool onto the Tiny.
5
Always a big fan of
seconds
having a
remaining.
carry that's going to be able to utilize the bonus attack speed, which Tiny definitely will in that aspect. But you can get rid of the Vortex, potential Orchid, Chaos Bolt. Nothing really that Grimstroke provides, but like you said, it feels like it's a very good lane matchup if they do put the Chaos Knight as a 1. And more importantly, you're hiding this flex if it's going to be a 4-2-3 Coddle or a Kishka Coddle.
Run them over. That's all I gotta say. I don't know if he plays it.
Team
Play like a brewmaster here. Just run them over. Overwhelm them with team fight. Jump the coddle. Toss the Bane or the LC up into the air. Win the team fight. Use the phantasms to hit towers.
Would
10 seconds remaining.
It wouldn't be a
5
bad lane.
seconds
Yeah, Brew
remaining.
Grim, you got a way to proc the Cinder Brew. Feel like that's actually a decent lane to be able to man fight the Bane as well. And it is.
I wonder, like, they're banning out the Beastmaster now, so Lilgun clearly worried about A, being forced to put this Keeper of the Light into the lane that's going to be able to respond to a lot of this push, but B, the vision advantage. Like, Storm, see, like, if this is an IOCK pairing and you've got
Radiant
vision
team
of of Keeper of the Light,
Oh.
very easy to reload.
Night Stalker looks dope for Apes.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, so that's the other aspect of it, right? You just want to make sure you've got the Night Stalker. But, I mean, Coddle can still just run away from you, right? So you got to make sure that the actual coordination is there, coming through from the Storm
10
or the
seconds
IO and the
remaining.
CK.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I think Storm Spirit, with having as much
5
vision
seconds remaining.
as he would desire, just gives him a really easy fight. He can pick his targets accordingly and then get the Coddle, get the Bane, Chaos Knight along with that. So, and it's one of the
Dire
better
team
pairings, in my opinion, with the IO. I think you just get him over the hump of that laning stage, which should be pretty decent. You then put the Grimstroke Chaos Knight together, double stun, you'd be happy with that.
That Ursa leads me to believe that that's where they're leaning to the Night Stalker, the Ursa ban. If
10
they do, they could
seconds
still Monkey
remaining.
King, I suppose, and it'd be decent.
5 seconds
You
remaining.
speak about Lilgun or Apes with that?
Lilgun ban the Ursa. Oh, actually, no, I've got my things mixed up a little bit here.
So they are.
Radiant team
Let's
pick.
see, where do they go? Like,
Luna.
okay, so we got Chaos Knight off lane. Hero that. Do you like the Luna? I'm trying to decide if I like the Luna.
I'm trying to decide it as well. I mean,
10
outside of the
seconds
Phantasm,
remaining.
you were lacking a little bit of tower damage, which I can understand.
5 seconds
but-
remaining.
I'm worried that their coordination isn't strong enough that they're not going to be able to actually kill this coddle. And then the tower push just never happens because you've got lanes constantly being shoved out or people dying in the interim. So that's my main area of concern, is going to combat this Luna. I think it might also have just been they really didn't want to lane the Chaos Knight into the LC for that melee v melee matchup.
Sure.
So got here position for.
Well, I feel like the question is, do you feel like Lilgun have enough control for the Storm Spirit? Which
You may now select
they
your
say
heroes.
they
Oh,
don't.
they do. Yeah, I was thinking the Shadow Shaman instead, but you are very vulnerable. So I suppose the Skywrath, who's someone that Ancient Seal has quite a decent cast range, and of course combos together with the LC quite nicely. It's another 4-2-3 Keeper of the Light. Why not? After how successful it was that time around, I'm gonna stick with the background and go with Little Gun. I feel like the LC Skywrath is gonna be fine. Keeper of the Light, they've done more to be able to address it for sure, but I just don't think it's enough. And I had one other thing, but I forgot it.
So for Ape, they've ran the Chaos Knight prior and on the position 3, and Delul actually
10 seconds
exceptional on
remaining.
this. That was the game 2 versus Talon. Of course, they did drop that
5
map in the end, but
seconds
Delul
remaining.
was definitely the standout for Apes and how he was able to play. And that was a game where I think he had the most kills and was starting to transition into like a carry role item build almost. So at least that's the most recent game for Delul on the Chaos Knight. It's going to be amplified a little bit with the IO on UK, but it's a question of do they give that lane pairing or not? Do you feel like it's going to be IO Chaos Knight or IO Luna in the lane?
Has to be Io Luna for sure. I mean, Bane, one of those heroes, you called him like a pseudo melee hero just because you want to be up in their face doing a lot of trades, and you just can't do that against a Chaos Knight and a Grimstroke once they're level 2. You know that they're going to be able to make kills happen with the Reality Rift, with a Chaos Bolt. You kind of need the Chaos Strike just for your sustain in lane, but there's way too much kill threat to pass up in my eyes. I'm still going to go Lil Gun though.
Yeah, it's definitely another game where both sides seem pretty reliant on their pickoffs. You know, for Lilgun, you have a Legion plus a Sky combo. You've got a Kodo that's looking to run around, just get kill after kill. Sanctity, you're on his Tiny once again with the more than likely early Shadow Blades. You're just playing off the back of that, and our lineups play very similar. You know, they're not a dynamic that likes to group up. You want to have this, you know, one person set up into the +2 and the relocate and go from there and just look to play a really fast tempo sort of Dota. So I feel like both sides kind of want that similar style. Whereas the interesting thing though is a Luna can kind of
Prepare
diverge
for
from that.
battle.
Like later on, you know, honestly through the mid game when you find your item timings, you like to group up with this Luna besting, playing 5-on-5 where you can just have the overwhelming amount of damage and then take tower after tower. So we'll see how the dynamic can shape up for Apes early with their pick off into group up.
Yeah, I'm not writing off Apes altogether. I mean, like you mentioned, the Lunar Blessing, very effective, especially if you're using the Phantasm. If CK eventually opts to go into an Aghanim Scepter for himself, hell, even just the Chaos Bolt, right? They're gonna, sorry, the Aghanim Shard for the Chaos Bolt upgrade to provide an illusion. Does a lot when you're buffing it up even further with the Lunar Blessing available. So we'll see what they're able to do. Again, this match means so much for the Apes in particular. Right? Like
30
they've got
seconds to battle.
relative safety, I would say, on Lil Gun. Whereas the Apes, they need to keep winning. Because if they don't, they're going to be right back out, unfortunately. Despite, and we were talking about this during the break, they have one of the best supporter packs in the entire DPC, not just Southeast Asia. So make sure you do check it out. Yes, indeed. Kishka and 11 just running up here.
The battle begins.
This is it bad of me that I'm wanting to say Apes, but I don't.
No. I think they've got the tools to do it. I just wasn't convinced by their teamwork in game number 1.
Yeah, that's kind of my.
Like, if I didn't see the teams, I would probably say the Dire lineup, right? But I did see the teams in game number 1, and I saw how a few of those plays happened, and it just didn't seem like the synergy was quite there. It's a new game. They've had a chance to refresh, so it might be different, but I'm still going to put my faith in Lil Gun.
I'm going Apes. Screw it.
All right.
We'll do it. I think BKBs are huge for Apes. If they get BKBs, then I'm happy. Then that's where I feel like they shine. I'm very concerned they're going to get run over this game, like we saw in game 1. So if they can steady the ship and get those BKBs, then I feel like they're in prime position, or the position they at least want to be in.
Also, not to flame, but it is a Mamang Daya Storm Spirit, and he's been noted for his spirits maybe not being the same caliber as a lot of his other heroes, with the exception of Void Spirit, I guess. He's got a pretty good Void Spirit, but It is a little bit of a concern. I mean, this feels like in game number 1, they asked him to play the Underlord just because it was a specific counter to what they were looking to run, both the Coddle and the Broodmother, and he just didn't feel comfortable at all. So that also kind of weighed into my decision there.
Take a look at the bottom lane here with the Lure on the Chaos Knight and Lim on the Grimshark. Up against Ace's Bane, along with Sanctity's Tiny. So some similar heroes. We get to see the comfort overall. Sanctity's looked really solid. And I've continuing to be impressed, even though Lilgun, the score doesn't really back it. But just very impressed with their overall growth of this as a team. With how they've kind of moved away from these cheese strategies and even showed more of this flex potential from Sanctity and 423, kind of similar to what we saw Mickey and Koifa, and you can continue the list as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The only real team that I was kind of surprised that Lilgun dropped a game to was Army Geniuses there for their 3rd loss. Jikro is getting dived a little bit up on this top side, but of course he's got an IO paired together with him, so he's going to be safe enough. But already, the net worth is swinging a little bit in favor of Lilgun. Only 2.5 minutes in, but you have to be a bit concerned that even with an IO pairing, this Luna's sitting last on all the core's net worth.
Do you feel like the Grimshark is going to have a time where he can freely make stacks for Jikro by the triangle?
I think if you're not taking advantage of a strong kill lane in this bottom side, you're making a mistake here. Like I said, Chaos Knight did have to go into the Chaos Strike just to be able to maintain the lane, but surprisingly enough, he puts a 2nd point into it, which I'm not as big a fan of. I mean, if he had that available there, like, this Bane dies if he has a point of Reality Rift.
He might still die, but Avalanche is going to hold back to Law, so beautifully placed stun there from Sanctity. So you feel like this is just a lane where they have to put all their attention on getting kills instead of top lane. Oh no! The moment of courage proc on that last right click gets the first blood given over to 11.
I think they, now less so, I think they really needed to get the first blood just to take that away from Lilgun, which, they've got a pretty strong kill lineup as well. It's a Skywrath Mage and a Legion Commander. They're able to dish out a lot of damage and trade very well. But now that it's gone, maybe you can look to lean a little bit more into the, I don't want to say survivability, but just trying to get a decent amount of net worth for yourself.
Okay. Both mid laners are very happy with the start of the game they've gotten. And it does look like both have the small camp accessible as well. So Storm's going to shove it out. Keeper the Light's going to shove out the lane. And feels like it's more than likely going to be a farm trade. But we did see some early rotations, mainly from Kishka in game 1. Just that Rubik's stun was nice to be able to get some early kills under the belt of 423. Can you see something similar in this game, or is it a little bit more difficult on the Sky?
It's more difficult on the Sky, plus the fact that you're against a Storm Spirit, right? Like, he's got his ultimate very shortly, so he's going to be able to get away from a lot of the kills as long as he's got the mana for it. Whereas Underlord, he's kind of like a sitting duck a lot of the time.
I'm kind of
2-3 just soaking that experience.
Jikroy's gonna die top. Arcane Bolt. Looks like the stick charge is enough to keep Jikroy away from the critical threshold, but they are still hunting. Maybe they're looking for UK instead. The concussive shot slows him down. He's got tether back up, but they are completely zoned out of the lane.
Yep, you are not farming. You have a little bit of regen. Doesn't quite have the headrest yet on UK, but there's a lot of creeps that's just fading away underneath this tower.
You need to bring a +1.
Worth.
Are they gonna try and man fight? Storm's joining them, but Jikroy doesn't have the bonus health now to play with, so it looks to stand his ground in the tree line. They get the kill on 11, but without the mana from a main Dire, it's going to turn to play with the Clarity. Kishka doesn't want to face away to pop the Clarity, so he's going to rely on the concussive shot instead. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Ace 12 should end up going down. Brain Sap's going to give him a little bit of extra health to utilize. They've got a stun in a couple of seconds. Sanctity's going to toss the Chaos Knight further away. The second point in the Stroke of Fate is enough damage for Lim to get the kill.
Nicely done by Lim. He's even going to be able to take away the bounty rune that's about to spawn. So I feel like you're still okay with this, even though Apes ended up getting a few kills there, just because the Coddle getting the Boots of Travel is the important mark, right? And if a Storm Spirit isn't contesting the lane,
is
He's
under
losing a
attack.
lot of those creeps under the tower because you're just shoving out the lane so quickly with your Illuminate. I mean, tower's already at half HP in a coddle lane, you know, like that's a big win.
Dire's middle tower is
And
under
he's
They're gonna
basically
go
got
for
his
this,
bots.
though. Lim's going to be nearby to be able to pair with him among Dire. This is a huge kill they're going to get on the Keeper of the Light before the boots of travel. There's no way 423 gets a kill before he dies, and looks like with Kishka showing up, they still won't have the damage in the tank for Lim, so beautifully played, utilizing that haste to perfection.
Yeah, that comes down to milliseconds there. If he's able to get the Illuminate off in the Spirit form while he's being in the Electric Vortex, it's going to heal for a lot more when he gets hit by it, and he definitely lives, but it's really good by Mamang Daya to make sure that he did catch him out and prevented that heal from having a huge impact.
It's interesting that 423 is going back into the Spirit Vessel, though, because I thought the item last game was very game dependent, but it just seems like he feels there's a lot more value in this item than maybe that next item Dagon we see 9 go.
I think it just highlights what your focus is, right? Like a Dagon, it's a little bit, is it a slower timing? Maybe not, but like it just allows you to stay out of the map and be this constant threat and presence out there. You're up against an Io, so Spirit Vessel is going to be
first
effective
duel of
as
the
well.
game. Kishka not going to have the damage to go through Jikroy, but now with the Keeper of the Light TPing into the lane, they will cancel that, and Jules not going to be successful.
Yeah, I feel like anything that just enables you to transition from this lane dominator into this kill obtainer is what you want for when you're playing this mid coddle, right? He's got the urn coming out to him at the moment, but beyond that, he just needs to make sure that he's consistently going for kills. I don't want to see him sitting back and AFK farming. His job is to make space so that Sanctity is able to get a couple of these early items.
Jikroy. Oh no, that's not a spot you want to be. They still don't have the level 6 on you. K! Oh, that's so much damage.
Didn't have the duel quite yet. It's just come off cooldown at the moment. So, just a lot of threat being put onto this safe lane here. They realize that, I mean, Dalil could just pop off again and have another amazing game, right? But he's not the real one that you're concerned about. You're concerned about this Luna being able to use the space created by this trio of Storm Spirit, Chaos Knight, and Grimstroke to actually do a lot in the late stage. And well, if the Luna's not able to do enough with that farm because she's died a few times and doesn't have farm to farm, then it's going to be a rough one.
Yeah, no stacks at the Ancients or the Hard for Luna to be able to catch back, but you do have a Io to combine with yourself. That overcharge bonus attack speed is going to be vital for Jikroy to keep up, but his counterpart in the Tiny also hasn't had the greatest lane. No deaths, 57 last hits. He's 4th in net worth, so definitely not the worst, only about 200 gold ahead. It's going to be 4-2-3, along with the duo support trying to invade the jungle. They run straight into Jikroy. A little bit of awkward use of the Nightmare, but that just allows the Illuminate to be charged up to the full length. And now I even might add UK to the death tally, but he's got to tear the
Dire's
target.
top tower is under attack.
Bottom lane though, Mamang Daya paired with the Lul. Avalanche once again used defensively to hold them back. Very nicely played from Sanctity.
We get away from a lot of that aggression, and
Dire's top tower is under attack.
every single time this Luna dies, of course it's a bad thing, but I'm always just looking at what they're looking to get in exchange. I'm seeing an early Witchblade come out from the Storm Spirit. Not sure how strongly I feel about that, but I suppose the slow is going to be nice against the Coddle as long as you're able to get that singular right-click onto him.
So I think every game I've seen Storm Spirit that I've casted go Witchblade, I think I saw 2 of them and I was casting with Parker, and I haven't been able to get your thought process on it. So like, what do you think about this new introduction to the Witchblade on Storm?
I think it's just more consistent damage than something like an Orchid, and they certainly moved Orchid away from being a spellcaster's item. You know, now it's attack speed and it's damage and a little bit of regen, but nowhere near enough as it used to be. Same sort of thing with the intelligence boost, so it feels like it's kind of the substitute for the Orchid, and you've got the Grimstroke and the Chaos Knight to play around with, where they kind of act as like that extra stun or silence coming through, that you don't actually need to be quite as concerned about having that silence for yourself.
Yeah, I think
Dire's
all the
middle
attributes
tower
that you
is
get
under
from
attack.
Witchblade is something that Storm Spirit likes. but you're never going to itemize into armor. Like, you're an intel hero, your agi game is very bad. You love attack speed because a lot of your damage actually just comes through from the overload. Of course, you need to use remnants and abilities for that, but you want your right clicks to be pretty fast as well, just continue those flurry of overload procs. But you get those two things, a little bit of mana, intelligence. So yeah, I think it's an interesting item for the Storm.
Oh, look at this. It feels a little baity. You know, you've got multiple heroes standing here inside the tree line. Just if Mamangdaya moves to the right side of the lane, which he doesn't, and they're able to get the deny off as well, so a little bit of extra gold for Apes, which is great. Got the Spirit Vessel to contend with now, but I believe they've essentially got the Witchblade timing as well, about 100 or so gold away for Mamangdaya. So he's able to pick that one up and make some rotations happen. Be a pretty big deal. I mean, you've got the Soul Ring as well on the IO, so consistently able to... It's fine. Consistently able to keep Storm Spirit plenty of mana for himself.
Play? All right, they're gonna break the Nightmare. Oh, great position from Lim. Gets rid of the Fiend's Grip. And the tether before the duel, so they're able to reposition, but Kishka, oh, he's still nearby to land the Mystic Flare. That's all the damage they need to find the first duel victory of the game.
Pretty good, though, by Apes to be able to dodge out a lot of that. You know, the fact that they only lose an IO for it is a win, right? It would have just made him further away from that Witchblade for himself. Now he's got it picked up. Looks like he wants the free kill onto Ace 12. He'll go down. Fortunately for Luna, she's not the one to pick up that kill.
Yeah, who's still falling further behind. And this is pre-Ag Shard as well for Tiny, so he's still keeping a decent amount ahead of the Luna, but I guess this was, he hasn't even farmed the stack shit at the Ancient, so yeah, this is without Ancients farmed on Sanctity, and we haven't even seen Jikroy play by the Ancients himself as well, which is something that your Lunas thrive on, so I'm a bit surprised with the farming, at least the position from Jikroy so far.
Yeah, a little bit odd, but I guess they don't really feel safe to play around that area of the map just because that's where they saw Lilgun playing recently. They might feel like they've got a bit of a vision disadvantage, and as for right now, they just want to play in the safest place possible, right next to a lot of their own vision.
Lilgun, they're going to look to smoke. They've got the blink on 11. You're back and available. One guy's the target. If he pops back into the lane, they'll jump instantly. But he's also in a position where he can break the smoke and get out. They're pinging out his location.
Oh man, they are going to get de-watered to hell in this area. They saw both observer wards drop down underneath that cliff there. So even though Mamangdaya is able to dodge out that smoke, he's been a lot better with his positioning this game. Just making sure to constantly be playing around trees so that you've got the security of that cliff
Bottom
ward.
lane. 11's gonna jump. Kishka's not far behind to follow up. Lim needs to eat the Mystic Flare. They don't get the dual victory, but they still get the kill. 4-2-3 with the finishing blow. They're a little bit too late to get an extra one in the life of Lim. Now, Ace is setting up on a high ground. Doesn't have anyone nearby to play with. Just gonna maybe...
No one close, actually, as well.
Mangda's actually gonna jump for it. Tiny to the northern side of the pit. Without a blink or Shadow Blade to really close her distance. Mangdai up to a killing spree. And you mentioned, like, he's really not that comfortable on a lot of Spirit heroes, but I've been pretty impressed with his performance so far.
Yeah, this game has been very good. You know, when you don't think of Storm Spirit when you think Mamangdaya. You know, you think of a lot more of the unorthodox stuff.
11 and Kishka. Conjunction again. They're going to see the Lul. 1400 health. Not without the armlet.
He's the last one you want to catch, though. Yeah. Very tanky already. Armlet picked up.
Oh, raindrops, so
braces.
Oops, smoke up. Apes. Running into the low ground, but Mangdai to start. 11, so patient in the tree line. Hasn't found his angle just yet. But a 1-for-1. Do they go back in? He's already used the blink, so 11's going to have to run into the middle. That will be too late.
Has to be noted as well that Apes, everyone turns up to that Sanctity, he's still farming away on the top side. Does he have a completed Shadow Blade coming out to him? Yes, he does. So just wanted to push out that top wave as much as possible. It's still the siege creep wave, by the way, so someone might need to address that. And in that time, they'll have that additional item for themselves.
I think this is actually something we see a decent amount for Sanctity, where he doesn't put as much emphasis on the Ag Shard.
Yeah, he's not a farmer, that's for sure. He is... It might be a tiny, he might be a mid player, but it's... You got to stay with the same sort of mentality of, I'm just going to go around making space, getting kills.
But some games is their win condition, and some games you need him to be that farmer, though, right? Of course, it's
on
different.
The TA. That's about it. OD, I wouldn't really call a win condition.
See, though, Lilgun, 1,000 net worth lead, 14 kills. Pretty even at this stage of the game. I was saying that I think Apes had to be around this position. You're not out of it. I wasn't really expecting them to have the early lead with the lineup they had, but if they could just steady the boat, bottom lane, they might be in trouble. Kishka and 4-2-3 in conjunction. Gonna try and bring down the Luna. He does have a couple heroes behind, but with 11 TPing in, finds the dual victory. Mamang Dai is gonna come down for the south. It's a beautiful double vortex. They get a double kill, and now Mamang Dai's got plenty of mana to be able to utilize a long zip onto Ace 12. And Mamang Dai is showing that he can pull out the Storm Spirit and still have a pretty crazy game on it.
Yeah, he's doing really well. I'm not sure why Lilgun didn't glyph. You know, that was a tier 1 tower with a Bane defending it a lot of the time. They had a lot of those rotations come through, and they could have forced them to perhaps stay around that area, but instead they have to go into the unknown, I suppose, where Apes were much better set up, and you just saw what impact the TP rotation from Mamang Dai had. Able to zip on in, make maximum use out of that Soulbind for the double Vortex, and yeah, really clean up.
Do you think, again, you mentioned it last fight, but another big thing is that Sanctity didn't show up, so he's continuing to get farm, and it was the Luna that just died, so... See, the net worth disparison between the position ones is starting to get to a stage where you might be a bit worried for Jikroy.
Yeah, but now you've got a Shadow Blade on this Tiny. It's underneath
huge.
An Observer Ward, though, or a Sentry, rather.
Oh.
You know he's there, that pesky range creep, revealing everything.
That could have been a big opportunity to kill Sanctity. 2,500 health, of course, it's scary, but he's been flawless so far. If you can kind of just stem the momentum a little bit, especially before BKB, because that could get to a stage where then Tiny is very, very hard to kill.
Now, I know we like to roast my lack of my deficient color vision.
Okay.
But just have a look at Sanctity while he's still got DD. I would say that it's very hard to see that Tiny has DD. Would you agree?
I can't tell.
Exactly. It's just around his feet, basically.
Dire's top tower is under
Pay to
attack.
win. Tiny's not already broken enough. He needs a little bit of extra advantage from Daddy Gaben.
So, just thinking how they want to spend their next couple of minutes or so. I believe, is that the Axe Shard? No, it's actually a Silver Edge. Same build as last game, coming out to the Tiny. So he wants to try and get as active as possible. A lot of that burst. I mean, you're playing with a Coddle, a Skywrath, a Legion Commander with Duel, and now a Tiny with Silver Edge. If you're not able to pick off a target, even the CK at this stage, what's going on? So I think we could look to see them all group up together and try and make some kills. So have to be careful there, Mamang Dai, but for the full zip, just to try and clear out that top wave so that their movements aren't quite as...
Does Delul die to this? Sanctity's gonna reveal the Silver's Edge. Oh, and they instantly rip apart the Phantasm. Sanctity still had some trees to be able to play with, so a very nice solo kill. Now instantly the rest of Lilgun. Look at a smoke collapsing towards a triangle. Seven jumping, but unable to get in range. He went for the overwhelming odds radius instead of the other 10 talent. So would have been able to find the jewel if he went for a different route.
A little bit surprising, honestly. I mean, I suppose that my thinking is that they are relying on a decent amount of physical damage coming through from the Apes, with the Luna paired together with someone with a Chaos Knight. So Overwhelming Odds has a good amount of value for this LC, especially if he goes into an Aghanim Shard after he picks up the Blink Dagger.
They are
just that additional
all under
armor
a
that it
ward.
provides is great.
Oh, Sanctity. They get the vision of both. They see the Storm Spirit in the tree line, and Sanctity jumps the Grimstroke. A simultaneous initiation now with the Phoenix Grip, Ace 12 in the middle, the fight, but there's no cancel as Delul looks to enter with a numbers disadvantage, and Lilgun just run over heroes one by one. They may as well finish the fight inside the base, but to relocate back to the jungle, means Lim and UK will just make it out.
Man, that instant buyback, but the Storm was already dead. It just meant that Lim, unfortunately, didn't offer all too much, and well, with buying back as well, at least he's got the Aghanim Shard, so can provide a little bit of save to the rest of the team, but it's going to be a long time until he gets his next item, even with a Philosopher's Stone.
That was such a perfect
It just feels
fight.
like... Where do they play now, though? That's my big question. The vision isn't amazing, I suppose, for either team, but it just feels like even though they're the team up against an IO, the IO team is scared to go out on the map at all because they've just got so much burst, so much quick ways to be able to engage. Looks like 11 does share the same mindset as me. He's since queued up the Aghanim Shard to be able to use with the overwhelming odds against the CK, against the Lunar. It's going to be very effective.
Look at the ward on the high. Going to play with the Radiant lineup starting to move towards the areas so they can utilize this to perfection. The Lord's actually going to jump 11, but the rest of the team on the other side to follow up with the Chaos Knight's initiation.
They're about to hit... going for a smoke here. I was about to say they're about to hit some small timings, perhaps coming through from the Apes, and I like this from Dalul. He needs to get that Aghanim Shard. It just provides so much additional damage.
Zip onto the Bane, but 11 doesn't follow up. So an easy kill through their smoke, but it's only support, so nothing crazy.
I think they do just need to, even though it's going to cost them a little bit in terms of, you know, being as efficient as possible and they'll be sharing a lot of experience, they need to play around together for this next little bit on Apes. I tore into them a little bit last game with how they weren't able to make it maximum advantage of their timings, but you've got a Aghanim Shard now on the CK, which is great, and you're so close to getting the Lincoln Sphere on the Storm Spirit. I feel like once you've got those, you got to just go. There's no waiting beyond that, and I like the fact that they're not just... When they went for that 5-man smoke without either, I was very worried, but you're not going to win the next team fight without those items.
And for Radiant, it's go time for them. They got triple BKBs on their cores. The recent completed ones was Tiny and Legion, so they're ready to take a fight.
Level 20 on Tiny as well.
Jikroy, he's going to run straight into them. UK's already used the tether, so the relocate will do nothing. Mermaid die a little bit too late to the party. Now with the BKBs, all this magic damage is completely nullified, as Lim will be an extra kill to add to the tally. And Lilgun, they can now transition this into the tier 2 mid.
Yeah, I think the way that they need to play this game is just pretending like if you're walking near a cliff ward, you're dead, because that's where a lot of these kills have been happening. You know, this cliff ward has somehow survived for about 4 minutes up here on the high ground, and it's being pinged out, but it's just going to be a little bit too late. Ace even putting down a bit more of an unorthodox one inside the lane.
What's Mermaid die doing? Cheeky stuff. Thought he was cutting the wave or seeing if he could get a straggler, but we again, here's really been the silver lining for Ape so far. 7-1-2. His highest net worth for the lads on Dire. Jikroy closing the distance, but it was a second item BKB, I think, for Jikroy. And well,
all right, no cheating. No cheating by looking.
Okay.
Sanctity is level 21.
Okay.
What level is Jikroy?
I just looked 15. I have him hovered over.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ugh. It's a big gap, that's for sure. And he's not even doing that badly on net worth. It's just that Sanctity's having another great game.
Yeah, well, she let the Tiny through. Like, I don't know.
Yep.
And
Apes chose first pick, by the way, so they
Yeah.
could have picked it up.
Among Dire. How long is he going to stick around for? Sanctity. Ooh, it's way too close to the northern side. They've run into the IO. They don't have enough damage to go through the jewel. In fact, Apes, the reinforcements show up, so they'll get the life of Bane along with the Scythe Mage
Power
across
to
the
CK.
map. And now they're looking over to over to Sanctity in the river. It will be okay.
Just out of range. I mean, even if he was in range, he still has the Aegis, so he's probably okay just to be able to get the BKB move away off. But yeah, we just saw the impact that Dalul was able to have in that previous engagement. Crazy amount of physical damage that this team is capable to do as long as they're the ones to start a lot of these team fights. That's really the first time that they have, right? Other than... Oh, no, that's it. That's the first time. Every single other time it's just been Coddle running at you, Apes getting caught underneath some sort of cliff ward. this time around, they were finally able to turn things around.
Yeah, it feels like it's mainly though Lilgun have always had the vision advantage, which I think was a big reason why that fight went decently well. It was also maybe a little bit of miscommunication, like Sanctity and Kishka were trying to hunt down the Storm Spirit, whereas the rest of the team were trying to get a pick off in Jewel. Sanctity.
Speaking of Sanctity, he's walking forward.
He's got BKB. He doesn't really want to use it on the first life. So they will get rid of the Aegis advantage. Now, do you stick around towards the backline? Delul's going to try and take away the life of 4-2-3. So instantly killing off the Keeper. And now they've got the numbers advantage. Mamangdai is zipping towards the backline, focusing 11. It's finally Apes hitting back. That's an ambitious duel, giving over 3 damage. And now with the buyback, Sanctity's still in trouble. He's unable to stand his ground as Delul, a dominating streak.
Running out.
4-2-3 just brought back. Mamangdai looking to target the side, but Delul's got the blink to follow up.
What the hell?
What's going on? A 5-man wipe, a dieback on the Coddle, and all of a sudden, Apes, 2 successful fights back to back, puts them in the lead.
I can understand feeling like you're invincible as this Tiny, right? He was walking around, he's 7 levels above the Lunar at one stage, now only 3, by the way, and he had that second life, but the connection wasn't there. They didn't all look to rejoin from the safer space, which was on the left-hand side. They came through the jungle where a lot of that vision was, and they should have known the vision was there, right? Because the Tiny got initiated on while he was under the cover of the Silver Edge.
Yeah, I just really, Danog, it's been vision, and Apes have been getting 2 pickoffs at the start.
Who starts the fight?
Yeah, exactly. It's Delul. Delul starting the fight. He's killing at least one. Well, that time it was the Keeper alive, but he's killing someone. And then you're also, again, it's another fight where Lilgun and not all is 5. That's the second time in a row. So for 3 big things, Apes are actually killing someone to start, like a very squishy hero. Lilgun aren't all is 5, and Apes have the vision advantage. Like, that has been the recipe for success so far in these past couple of fights.
Another question, don't check. In the past 7 minutes, what has the win probability swing been?
I think it's probably like 53 for Apes, so I'd say about 32%. Mamangdai? That's an aggressive zip. Doesn't have... He's got Arcane to play with. Looking to jump 11, but the BKB tiring, and all of a sudden, Mamangdai is in trouble. Bitten off a little bit more than he could chew. But Apes still considering going in. A Phantasm and Clips expended, but to no avail. As Lim easily chased under the tower. And Apes, they lose 3 and they don't get anything. And do they run into Jikroy?
Jikroy? He doesn't have a TP. Or just not going to be able to spot him. But that was a great quick fingers coming through there by 11. Able to get that BKB off before the Storm Spirit CC'd him, allowed him to get the duel, and great return damage, even with an IO looking to heal him up.
And they won't have to worry about backdoor protection. They've still got a range creep. You got the Presty attack on the Tiny to shred apart the buildings, and they're even thinking about a second melee Rax.
Why not? No Eclipse, no Phantasm. They're feeling pretty confident, and of course, you're a Tiny.
What a hero. What a hero.
Delul's a little ambitious to
further
stay
inside the base. Pretty tanky with the eyes sustaining. I don't know if they're actually going to be able to kill off the Chaos Knight, but he's fallen so goddamn low. Look at the zip damage. Mamangdai evens up the trade, now turning to 11 as well. Lilgun, they've stuck around a little bit too long, getting greedy for the objectives along with the kills. As Mamangdai rectifying that previous mistake by the top outpost.
No need to stay for a range Rax. You know, they made the similar decision up towards the top side, but the fact that they just waited that out for the CK Phantasm to be back and available is a bit of an odd one. Luckily for them, Roche not up for the next 2 minutes, but there is a DD in front of his pit, so I wonder if Jikroy will look to prioritize having that. seems like he just wants to get that little bit of extra farm. You know, he really wants the
Radiant's
Sanjin
middle
Yasha
tower is under attack.
to be able to transition this into a few more objectives and just be sustainable for himself. I mean, if he gets dueled, he wants that duration to be so much less.
And you brought up before, like one of your questions was, you know, guess how far the Luna's level was away from Sanctity, and it was 6 at that stage. Now it's only 2. Jikroi's been getting so much out of these, and if you get Sanjin Yasha for the reasons like you mentioned, for particularly for the status resistance, but I think the extra lifesteal is incredibly important. Yep, because I think Satanic is a huge next item for him, just to stand his ground and tank through the duel. If he wants to go down that route, then Sanjin Yasha buffs that even more, and I think it's very difficult to kill him off if he gets that item.
We've now got Reality Rift, piercing spell immunity as well on the CK, so that's -7 armor that Aluna's able to take advantage of. They didn't smoke with Delul though. It's a little bit of a blunder there. Guy's going to love picking up this regen with a DD going as well. They're looking to try and play around Delul just because he wasn't caught inside that smoke as much as they can, and well, they'll be able to get the Aether Lens on the Legion Commander. Is he going on Octarine on this Legion Commander?
He is.
Looks like he is.
I'm trying to. I think I saw Jabs go for this. I'm intrigued about it because you don't have the dual cast range. If you had that level 10 talent, then your dual range would be gigantic. But it does help out your press attack a lot, and definitely your blink as well. So it's interesting.
I mean, it has the Aether Lens component, right? So it's a little bit of cast range for the duel.
Yes.
And even just the overwhelming odds, right? With him being able to pick up the Aghanim Shard, the shard duration of overwhelming odds goes from, I believe, 7 seconds to 18. 7 seconds to 15, or 8 seconds to 15, I forget which. And yeah, it just means that you have technically 100% uptime, but you're going to have more than 100% uptime now, so that if you're not able to perfectly chain cast the abilities, then you're still going to have that great armor potential, that great movement speed in a lot of these engagements, which you need to be able to catch up to heroes like the Coddle. Feels like it's been a while since we've mentioned 423 on his Coddle as well. You know, his impact isn't anywhere near as strong as the early game, which is understandable, but you were talking about it early on. Once those BKBs start to come out from the Apes, this is a very different story.
Yeah, do you feel like Apes are actually in the driver's seat, even though they have a full set of barracks disadvantage and the melee top?
I wouldn't say the driver's seat, no, just because of that fact, but I mean, it's still to me, and it's going to sound so stale and, you know, like a broken record, but it comes down to who starts the fights, because if you start the fights and you're able to get those stuns off, Fiend's Grip, Avatos combination, they can't BKB, they don't have the relocation, you've still got a lot of burst damage on Lilgun's side, and you've also got, on the Ape side, you've got Reality Rift piercing BKB now, so even if they do pop the BKB, you're very capable of taking a lot of these engagements.
Speed up vision, this is a huge ward, which Mamangdai just gets rid of. For Ace 12 is able to offer some control, so now this is big for Dire. They've got a decent ward by the secret shop, another cliff ward to the northern side of the pit, and you know, we have been harping on how important vision has been, and I think the next fight's going to be around Roche.
Well, if vision is what you want.
Guy's gonna look this up. The Lincoln's still available for him, so the follow-up control is not gonna do anything to prevent the storm. Meanwhile, the backline, Jikroi relocates into the middle. The Eclipse is doing nothing to the BKBs, but this is a great start. They've kited the BKBs, and as soon as they expire, there's nothing Sanctity can do. Pulled back to his death, or is he even dead just yet? Sanctity standing his ground. He doesn't win the man fight. Is Jikroi surviving on 100 health?
Oh man, that Aghanim Shard on the Grimstroke saving him. Just the heals coming through. 40% of the damage that it's dealing. It's a lot in some of those engagements. And the decision to just relocate back on UK, leave the Luna there fighting on an island, could have burnt them in a big way, but instead just gets him closer. Has he taken over his level? Not quite, but they're both level 24 now.
Wow.
On both Jikroi as well as UK.
Keep in mind, if Lilgun win this series, then they guarantee their position in Division 2 next tour. And for Apes, they are fighting for their DPC lives. You know, there's a loss. I don't think a loss guarantees, but they have to win every single...
It'll be close.
Yeah, it's you're relying on other teams and their win-losses. So you want to win everything. You want everything to be in your hands and not onto the other team.
It's a little bit... Oh, man. Mamang Daya's got a regen rune outside the Roche pit as well.
They're going to run into Lim.
Oh,
Oh, great reactions. Can they contest
not
this without
to
sanctity?
reveal that, well, it's already dead.
Sean has fallen to the dark.
Hex from afar. Uh-oh, Mamang Daya's got a regen now, along with the Aegis zipping back and forth. Bane's killed off. Now they've got the vision on 423. It's going to get the kill into the TP out. The damage, they're controlling him. Ooh, it's way too close for comfort. Another long zip.
Yeah,
Mamang Daya's on Kishka now.
He's still got the regen going. No one's touched him.
They
He's
try.
got the overload attack bounce. He just picked up the Aghanim shard as well, so he's able to do a lot of burst damage on his own. So now they've actually got this, like, it feels like they're saving these BKBs to either TP away or as a direct response to the Eclipse coming out. And now even more so, right? Because it's about to hit up onto level 25 on the Luna. Not 100% sure if he's going to go Lunar Blessing damage or the Eclipse Lucent Beam mini stun. Because you've got a CK, right? And you just love to be able to group together with that. All the Phantasm units increased of, what, 35 Lunar Blessing damage onto all of them? It's just so much that you're going to have to try and deal with.
Oh, all right. Little break in the action. I asked you a while ago before that Roche if you felt like Apes okay.
But not.
No, they're not G just yet. Yeah,
If you felt like they were in the driver's seat.
yeah, I asked you a while ago if you felt like they're in the driver's seat. Now, with the Aegis and 10,000 gold advantage, has this changed? Mamang Daya,
Oh.
zip in, Revenant's Broach, they pull back 11 and he's killed off before any opportunity for BKB.
Radiant structures are
Revenant's
fortified.
Brooch on Mamang Dai. He had a BKB queued up for the longest time, but switched up to that, and the buyback being expanded on the Legion Commander, they're going to feel confident enough to back off.
Dire's top barracks are under
Also,
attack.
it's just a reload to be able to farm up a little bit further. It's so hard to say, right? Because it's still based on vision. And I was actually a little bit excited because UK for a long time had a Helm of the Dominator queued up. But he's actually switched. He's going to go a Heart instead on this IO. But if they got the Helm of the Dom and they were able to get that Harpy Scout and able to, you know, find out a way to start a lot of these engagements, then I would have been like, okay, now they got it. Now they've got it in the bag, because really, a lot of their heroes are still very squishy. I mean, you've got a Coddle mid who's not making any space anymore. He feels like he needs to be a bit of the counter initiator. But then what do you have that's going to be frontlining in Lilgun? It just feels like they need to go for some weird, like, ratty sort of plays, which
They're doing
Sanctity
that.
is
Yeah.
ready to do so on the bottom side. They're kind of drawing out what needs to be pushed out, though. So need to be careful. Wasn't revealed for the longest time. Just enemy team doesn't know.
They're reading
Very
this.
beneficial for them. They're
They are
smoking it. They're
reading
smoking
this.
it. It's popped. He's got the shard as well on Jikroy.
Good job, but he can always BKB TPR. That's something they can't deal with. They know he's there.
Hit him.
They got the ball slap. Dilute with the follow-up. Sanctity, he's fallen pretty goddamn low before the BKB. Sanctity's gonna drop in the tree line. There's Apes. 100 seconds now with no timing on the map. You see the lines are drawn.
Looks like they did go for the mini stun. That was the big difference maker there, coming through from the Luna, just to be able to get that burst down, prevent the instant BKB pop, and with a CK, he's still able to do a crap ton of damage. He did 2,100 damage in that team fight. Required the Phantasm for sure, but still, what an impact that Delul is having again on his CK. Might be able to claw one back, Lockie.
Yeah, might be able to. I could get to 3 at this stage. So we've got a couple of series left, couple of games. Look at this though from Apes.
They're hanging around as well.
Yeah.
And they just placed down the Observe Ward. So the sentry there, feeling the position, but they're feeling
Radiant's
confident.
bottom tower
They've
is
got the
under
Aegis
attack.
available on the Storm Spirit.
And my main guy's just gonna
Approach
jump.
again.
They really can't use the buyback on the Tiny. Now to the south, 4-2-3. It's going to reveal his position. They have grabbed the gem, I believe, on Dio. Actually,
Storm's got it.
Okay.
But you fight this without your Tiny. He is your damage. If you don't have Tiny, you can't fight. Even look at that, using the Phantasm in the trees.
Radiant's bottom barracks has
I
fallen.
wonder if they can stick around if they get the tier 3. I don't know if Tiny can fight into Glaives bouncing
Dire's
around.
top barracks are under attack. Radiant's
I
middle
think he
tower
needs to go
has
for like a
fallen.
full
Top
wraparound
barracks
smoke,
has
try
fallen.
and engage
Radiant's
onto
middle barracks
the Io or the Grimstroke
Radiant's
first.
middle barracks has fallen.
Honestly, Danog, I think they're considering ratting. I know that's something you brought up before, but I think this is now even more of a consideration. Because I think Apes, one, we see the net worth lead. We know how big it is, but I think Dai's team fight is much better at this stage of the game than Radiant's. I think... I think you really... The rat is the better option than taking a 5-on-5.
It's going to be hard now, though, because obviously you lost the 2 lanes of racks. But even if you just lost the bottom lane, like, how do you actually go for the rat? You need to go for tier 4s exclusively, and that's just so much of a scarier prospect for you to go for. And he's still got the Battle Fury, sorry, not the Battle Fury, the Butterfly queued up here on Sanctity. And that doesn't really help with being able to take towers. You know,
They're running under vision. Luna's the target of the duel. Someone needs to eat the Mystic Flare. What was that damage? But McDie to safety. A Vortex onto all 4, but he's controlled for the moment. Is Zip onto the high gun to lose in the middle of the fight as well as the BKBs are starting to expire. It's all on Sanctity to turn the fight. Into the middle he goes. But Mamang Daya, you wouldn't think of him as a Storm Spirit player, but he's beyond godlike, and it pulled Apes into prime position to send this to a game 3.
21, 2, and 9 on Mamang Dai. Making me eat my words is this man, even holding on to the Timeless Relic with that fresh pickup of the Aghanim Scepter. What a great reinitiation as the buybacks start to flow out. The Tiny's the one that you are mostly concerned about, though, so just looking to play it somewhat safe. Make sure the creeps are the ones tanking up a lot of these tower hits as the glyph becomes available again. But it won't clear out the backdoor, or won't enable the backdoor protection with this bottom lane already pushed in. So Tiny has to buy back here.
Jacre has the Aeon Disc now. He just bought back.
He has to buy back.
They're going to jump on the back line. He's not buying back, and it's going to cost them.
For the burst!
It's Mamang Daya. Oh, the back line just shreds under the damage. And Apes, they will send us to a game 3. What a way to come back into this. They were up against the combo that Lilgun had so much success with in game 1. The 4-2-3 Coddle, the Sanctity Tiny, but it did not matter in the end.
Ooh, game 3. Apes, they realize, like, they've got so much to play for here, so they're putting everything they can into it. Every last-ditch effort. And gotta say, Dalul, Mamang Daya both played exceptional this time around as well. Lemon UK, they fed their lives away a few times in the early stages, but it really felt like they adjusted their gameplay. They made sure to stop playing around a lot of those cliff wards because it was just easy pickoffs and easy dual damage going through to the Legion Commander, who only ended up with about 5 or 6 at the end of the entire game. So things certainly took a turn for the better. Keeper of the Light's impact fell off massively once those BKBs came out, and you were almost exclusively relying on Sanctity, and there were just a couple of times where he wasn't able to get the perfect team fight, and yeah, Apes taking it to game 3.
Yeah, I mean, this is exciting for them because we saw how rough of an early game it was. We were mentioning, you know, Jikroy was very far behind in regards to the comparison between Sanctity and himself, and we were also mentioning that, you know, this is Mamang Daya. You don't really think of spirits, especially Storm Spirit, but he's proven that he's working on them and showing that he can, you know, pull it out of the hat and still shine on some of these heroes. So Mamang Daya has a staple game, sending them to a third one, and again, have to, you know, props you. It's exactly what you said. The fights and the success for them was vision, getting pickoffs, and we saw that was a huge factor when they stopped playing around kind of the cliff wards and went from there. Apes in the end, you know, they got to a stage where they were able to just take these 5-on-5 fights. Lilgun could not run over them. And now going to a game 3, keep in mind, again, we've been mentioning a couple of times, but Lilgun, if they win this series, then they will guarantee to stay in Division 2. And Apes, they need to win every series they possibly can to have those hopes alive of staying as well. So this is what you want. You're getting to the later stages of our spring tour. Everything's on the line for a lot of these teams. You want these game 3s. You want these hype matches, and that's exactly what we get. A third game around the corner.